Equations with fractions are not scary. Remembering that a fraction is algebra, the language of algebra. A over B means A divide by B. Just like we have two numbers if they're next to each other, or two pronumerals, or a number of next to each other, that means multiply. If they're on top of each other, like a fraction, that means divide. Which is actually what the divide symbol looks like. Oh, it's a fraction. To solve an equation with a fraction on one side, because we're dividing, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to multiply both sides by the denominator. So if we have this example here where q is divided by 4, that's really what that means. Then we multiply q over 4 times 4. The 4's cancel out, and we get q. But whatever we do to the left-hand side, we must do to the right-hand side. So q is equal to 48. Again, substituting 48 for q, 48 divided by 4 or over 4, or even on your calculator, 48 ABC4 should give you 12. Do not multiply by the denominator if there are extra terms. And this is what I was saying in my previous video. So where we're sort of doing the order of operations backwards when we're unpicking or untying our equation. So we got to make sure that we deal with this extra term first. And so we would subtract 2 from both sides, and then we can do it. So let's do some examples. So here I have, and I'll rewrite it, 4x over 3 equals 8. I don't have any extra terms, so I can go, because I'm dividing by 3, I'm going to multiply by 3 to get 4 x's, and I'm going to multiply by 3 to get 24. And now we know that 4 next to x means 4 times x. We're going to do the inverse. Divide by 4 to get x, and divide by 4 to get 6. So x is equal to 6. This one may look scary, but if everything is above one line and you've got a number underneath, then we can treat it as everything is together. 4y plus 15 is one beast, and it's all being divided by 9. So if we multiply it by 9, we get 4y plus 15 equals 27. Now we have to be careful again that we take away. So this one is a little bit misleading. If you've got a fraction and you've got no other extraneous extra terms, then we sort of treat that top thing as if it's in brackets, right? So that'll be kind of the last thing we do until we get to this point. To get to 4y, we take away 15 because we had a positive 15. And 27 minus 15 is 12, I think, yeah. And then we divide by 4 to get just 1y from 4y's, and divide by 4 to get y is equal to 3. And if you have time, and I sincerely hope that you'll make it, we take 3 and substitute it back in, and it works. So now we got to be super careful. I rewrite it. 4. Rewriting it is convention, but it also forces us to make sure we haven't missed anything. Just don't make a mistake, as I often do, and say something and write something different. So I'm going to check it. It looks pretty good. Okay, so before I can deal with 5x divide 2, here's our extra term, and that's a positive 4. So I'm going to take away that 4 to get 5x over 2, and I'm going to do whatever I do on one side, no matter which side it is, I'm going to do it on the other side. 29 minus 4 is 25. This is interesting. So now I've got a 2 on the bottom. If I've got a 2, I'm dividing 5x by 2, so I'll do the opposite and multiply by 2 to cancel them out. But I've got to do it on both sides. And you'll know that you're right, because you'll probably most likely, not always, but 98% of the time at this year level, you'll end up with an integer, a whole number. If you don't, just go back and check it. There's definitely times where you'll end up with a decimal or a fraction in there, for sure. But if you end up with some really wacky number, just go back and check it again and make sure. 7 minus 2x's over 3 equals 5. Now I've got that same kind of idea where I end up with a minus. There's more than one way to deal with a minus, but this is how I think is clearest. So this 7, remember, is a positive 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. I could do it another way. I might do that after this, but I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides to get negative 2x over 3 equals, this is 7. See, I just told you I did that. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. At this point, I can divide both of them by negative 1. Dividing both of them by negative 1, I'll just show you what it looks like. Divide negative 1, divide negative 1, gives me 2x over 3. I can do that now. And negative 2 divide negative 1 gives me positive 2. I can do that now, I can do it later. But a negative 1 is a handy little friend for all of us. Now I've got multiplying by 3 gives me 2x, because that effectively cancels that out. And I'm going to do a side, okay, is 6. And so 1x, I think you will find, dividing by 2 gives me x. Dividing by 2, x is equal to 3. And of course, you're always safest if you go back and substitute. 2 times 3 is 6, divided by 3 is 2, 7 minus 2 is 5. It works. Substitution